for you holding your knees, crying, and rocking in a corner in a puddle of your own urine, or being beheaded by a group of children in a cornfield. In fact, if you come across a group of children in a cornfield, we promise to make fun of you as you run away screaming in terror. Listener discretion is advised.
You're listening to RAP Paranormal and Friends with your hosts,
Kim Purvis
and Allison Robinson. Make sure to check us out on our Facebook pages, RAP Paranormal and Friends and RAP Paranormal Busters, for up-to-date show information and events.
The views and opinions expressed in this podcast by the host and or the guest do not necessarily reflect the views of the host and...
Hey everyone, welcome to another night of RAP Paranormal and Friends. It has been a long time awaited. This is our third time of trying to have Thomas on the show tonight. And he's finally here, even though we've been having some difficulties, so hopefully everything runs smoothly here. But let's welcome Thomas Huntzicker to the show, please. Sorry, I'm good. Now, how are you doing? Because last time you were sick, Kim and I are still kind of ill. Now you got a puppy that is sick.
Yeah, both my dog and I are still. I've been up since 1:30 this morning, so I've still got very congested and a cough. So, but I'm hanging in there.
All right, well that's good to hear. Yeah, that stuff's gonna last forever. So just an FYI.
Yeah. Wondering.
Okay, so before we jump into your book and everything and some of the new things that you've been kind of diving into, can you kind of tell us, first of all, you kind of started off, with paranormal and things like that. What got you interested in the paranormal?
Well, that's a tough question. It's just been something I've been drawn to since I was very young. I guess my father and mother kind of like spooky supernatural movies growing up. So in the 80s, I was watching all those movies probably way before I should have been, but that was probably where. And then in high school, while all my friends were out drinking and partying, I was out exploring old abandoned churches and doing a lot of urban exploration in the Ozarks. Went to school down there.
Okay.
And it kind of stuck from there through. And then I started networking and meeting other people with similar interests, and it's just kind of blossomed from there. So.
Okay. Yeah. Very nice. All right.
That's it. And then
Now, did you ever have any experiences when you were a child that you could have thought that, well, that could have been something?
Yeah, I mean, I've had paranormal experiences, but none that will stand out because I've got a very analytical mind.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm always questioning the reasons behind those experiences too. I had a premonition of my grandfather's death when my grandma was going out to California when I was real young.
Mm-hmm.
She came back when he passed. I was like, I know, but I don't know if that was paranormal or if there was something else that led to that, or if I overheard her talking to Dad or something. Mm-hmm. Who knows? Like I said, it's that analytical thing that really keeps me questioning everything. Mm-hmm. I'm not the jump into, oh, that's definitely paranormal. I want to make sure that I've looked at every avenue of possibility before I make that judgment. And then if I can't figure it out, then yeah, it's most likely something unexplained or paranormal. Mm-hmm. So all right. I had a lot of other weird too many to name, but and it just seems like the more you do it, the more happens. So
sorry, Kim's got random pop-ups coming up on here, so What was that?
She does that in real life too.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
Random
He's in and out.
pop-ups. All right. So, recently, you've been doing some shadow walking, and you have been going through some labyrinths and things like that. I see your post on that. Now, what kind of got you interested in doing this?
Well, it started back around 1999 or 2000. I was going to graduate school out in San Francisco, and I was studying transpersonal psychology, which is kind of a blend between Western psychology and Eastern philosophy, religion. You get into a lot of the holistic stuff and the meditative stuff. But one day I had a classmate who says, "Hey, have you ever walked the labyrinth at Grace Cathedral in San Francisco?" I'm like, "No, what's I don't know what that is." So she took me over there and walked it, and it was amazing. I walked it several more times since then. And essentially what labyrinth walking is, it's an ancient practice that's used by pretty much many, many different faiths. It's found in some form in almost every culture. And as a tool for spiritual centering, and it's kind of like a walking through a maze with only one path. And the twists and turns of the maze represent twists and turns and the turmoil in life that we experience. So it's a lot about self-reflection and seeing what comes up with that. So that's kind of what got me into the labyrinth walking. Now I took a break from that for a while, and then I met a friend about a year ago, and we met in Omaha occasionally just to hang out. And I said, "Hey, you want to walk the labyrinth?" And she said, "Sure." So we did, and she had an incredible experience. It would be hard for me to explain, but it was, and we started walking labyrinths all over the place since then. When I travel, when I do a lot of traveling, always looking for new labyrinths to walk and new experiences. Everyone has got a slightly different energy. So I've about the last year or so. Now, also while I was studying the transpersonal psychology, I got into a lot of Carl Jung stuff. He's a psychoanalyst. You know, a lot of people his stuff. He synchronicity, but he also did the concept of the shadow self. And the shadow self are all these parts of ourselves that we hide deep inside. Things that society says is not appropriate. Things that society says that we should be ashamed of. Things that we think we may feel guilty. These are all part of that shadow self, and they're still within it. But according to Jung, if we explore those parts of our shadow self, we can embrace them and integrate them into our whole self. And that's going to really open up the other avenues to self-discovery. So that's kind of what I did, was combine Carl Jung's shadow work with a labyrinth walking, and of course that's walking. There's a lot of psychology and meditation and self-reflection involved. There's some things that lead over into the paranormal for sure. But it's something that you would want to use if you've had a lot of trauma past in life, throughout your life, without some sort of therapist guiding you. I've had a few, so last fall, I had a group of men, and we went to a labyrinth to walk, and we shadow walked. And one of the gentlemen who's got to the center, and he just had to leave. He says, "I can't do this. There's just too much coming up. It's overwhelming." So he wasn't ready to face some of those shadow parts. So that's in a nutshell shadow walking. There's just a lot more to it. And there's no right or wrong way to do it. There's several variations. It's just as labyrinth walking. There's different kinds of labyrinths and different ways of doing that. But that's what I am now. So,
do you have to kind of get your mind in some kind of state to be able to do that, or you just go in and just walk and see what happens?
Both. You can set intentions beforehand, saying this is what I want to work on. This may be what I want to face, whether it be a guilt or a fear or the ego or archetypes, which is part of Jung's collective too. He talks about all the different archetypes and personality traits. For me, the most fun part is just to do sort of clearing mind meditation before I start, and then just let whatever happens in the labyrinth happen. And then there's all sorts of different exercises you can do where you might break down the different things you want to work on, and at each turn leave a little note or a rock or something. It says pause here and do self-reflection, see what comes up. And then as you get to the center, that's where you're going to do the reflection. And that's what did I learn? What really came up to me? How can I embrace what I've experienced and take that with me back into the world?
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, the release of back through the path on the way out. And that's just kind of a lighter feeling. It's just kind of the very stress relieving type thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's always fun to ask people to pick how they feel as they're going into the center of the labyrinth,
Mm-hmm.
how they're there, and then how it feels. Almost everybody says, I just feel amazing walking out. I feel like so much has been lifted from me.
Mm-hmm.
So there's just so many facets to it. It's hard to just get into all these areas in just one podcast. You would need probably a series covering different aspects.
Oh, I am sure of that. And actually, we've had a guest on before, and she's actually from the UK. I believe it was Iona Jenkins. Don't quote me because it's been a couple of years since she's been on, but she actually has done labyrinths over there, and she's done them, I believe, in Arizona too.
Oh, yeah. My goal is in the late spring to get to Arizona, specifically the Sedona area, and walk the labyrinths there. They're amazing ones.
And you know,
there's a wonderful group that's got. Go ahead.
Nope, go ahead. Go for it.
I was just going to say, a wonderful Facebook group that's got about 20,000 people from all over the world. And all I do is post pictures of their labyrinth and their experiences. And it's just amazing to see the different people from different areas of the world and how they experience their labyrinths. And most people are like, what's this labyrinth? I've never heard of it before. I've never seen one.
Mm-hmm.
But they're all over the place. I had a friend who has lived in Lincoln, Nebraska all his life.
Mm-hmm.
And I posted some pictures of me walking the labyrinth there. And he says, what the hell is that? I've lived here all my life. I've never seen it.
Yeah.
Of course, the retort is, sometimes the most sacred things in life are hidden in plain sight.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, if we don't know what it is, we just overlook it.
Right.
But there's an actual free app online called the Labyrinth Locator.
Oh.
And all you do is type in the city and the state, and it lists all the different labyrinths. And that's what I do when I travel is I just plug it in and see what's nearby, and I go experience it. I talk to, sometimes if it's a private labyrinth, I'll talk to the owner, and then they'll teach me some new things or connect me to other resources. So it's been a fun journey in that way too, meeting and networking all these people. But if anyone is interested in it, I suggest trying to remember, it's the Labyrinth Society Global something. If you just type in Labyrinth Global, you'll find it. But it's an amazing Facebook group, and some amazing pictures and incredible labyrinths.
I don't think I went to Sedona, but that's been a few years ago, and I love that place, but I guess I don't remember seeing anything like that. But then again, I wasn't really familiar with labyrinths. The only time I heard of a labyrinth was from the movie The Labyrinth. You know what I mean? So like
The Labyrinth.
yeah. So
that The Labyrinth one path, and the Labyrinth movie is more of a maze because there's dead ends and all that too. But
yep.
It's generalized. Most people think of that. Sedona is one of my most favorite places in the world. And when I was out there last, I didn't even look at the labyrinths either, because at the time I'd forgotten about it, wasn't really into it as much. But then I started seeing all these other people posting these photos and their experiences from the Sedona labyrinths. Of course, they have all the vortexes out there too. Vortices, plural, I think.
Yeah.
And a combination between the two. I'm just so excited to get out there in the spring and try that out. So.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool. That would be cool to see what you experience with that. Now.
So that's the spiritual side of walking, but there's also a paranormal side too, and that's the side that a lot of the paranormal people don't really like because it hits home. And I like to talk with Josh Hurd about this too down at Malvern Manor because he's kind of on the same page. Of course, my background is in psychology, so I analyze a lot of the experiences that I have or that other people might have too. Not just counting their experience, certainly have it, but so my theory is that during these paranormal experiences that people are having at these haunted locations, is it really paranormal or is it part of that shadow self that's manifesting itself as a phenomenon?
Yeah.
And that's the ball game there. And that's something that I think look into. I know that he's done a similar project on the psychology behind the paranormal experience, but you'd have to talk to him more about that if he's ready to talk about it yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And that's why it kind of triggers some of the paranormal investigators, because it takes away that idea that there's definitely something out there, rather than maybe it's part of myself that's manifesting the phenomenon. Who knows for sure, but I want to keep the possibility too, and that's the psychology part of me coming out as well. So, but
I get that.
Look at as far as
Now,
and it,
but
it would all be manifestations of that. It's also, there's several different kinds of paranormal experiences. Of course, you've got your residual energy, and you've got your spirit stuff too, and that could all be legit as well. We don't know for sure, but how much of those experiences are part of your psyche projecting out to it? Because you and I could have witnessed the same thing but have a totally different experience, and that's normal for a lot of people that are investigating in groups too. They all share the phenomenon, but they all experience it differently. And I know I do a lot of investigation with Robert Gray, and we hear the same phenomenon, but it's almost 100% of the time in different directions. And we always argue, oh, I hear it over. No, I hear. It's just how our mind projects the experience. Yeah. But, all right, you asked me.
Now, I was gonna ask. Now, with you, getting back into, your labyrinths and doing the shadow walking, is that kind of how your book came about?
Yeah. Oh, it totally is. I had originally started a book on. I'm sorry, my poor puppy is trying to clear her snout.
Oh, that's okay.
Really breathe. I'd have to get a little bit of eucalyptus or something to put under her nose. She hates it. Yeah, it started. I was walking a lot more labyrinths, especially there's, I think, 6 or 7 around the Omaha area. So next time you're down, let's walk a labyrinth.
Okay.
But then I start having these ideas. If I have ideas, I've got to get them out on my paper or in writing, or they stick in my head and then I can't sleep. So I started writing a book called The Labyrinth and the Lotus, and it was going to be a combination of labyrinth walking and Zen meditation walking, because as part of my education, I spent some time in a Zen Buddhist monastery in upstate New York, where we did a lot of meditative Zen, and I wanted to combine them. But as things progressed through the summer, a lot of those shadow parts started coming up again, and I was kind of forced to deal with them. And as I did, and I learned how to embrace some of those aspects, I realized, well, this is a lot more important than that, just the meditative part. Let's really focus on the shadow work that you can do in there, and it's just been amazing. They complement, the two practices complement each other very well. A lot of the labyrinth walking books that you will read just talk more of a contemplative walk. They don't really deal with the dark side that comes up during that walk, and that's kind of why I thought this was an important time to focus on that too, because we all have our dark side, and society tells us to parents, environmental things, we can't act on those, and of course there's certain things you don't want to act on society, be arrested, or you don't want to hurt anybody, but there's certain things you can become aware of. Take bits and pieces of that awareness and incorporate it into your daily living. And that could be, okay, here's an example. I was walking a labyrinth with my supervisor from work. He found out I was doing this. He said, after work, when I was labyrinth. So I did, and I taught him how to walk it to start. And I entered the labyrinth with a clear mind and no intentions. And as I came to each twist and turns, the idea of relationships and past relationships and failed relationships came up. And I thought, okay, a lot of things that I did in those relationships that I regret. Nothing terrible, but it might have just been like a simple thing I said that hurt somebody. And as I got to the center of the, that's where you kind of do the contemplative part, and you sit and you can meditate, or a lot of times I like to discuss their experiences. But I got to the center and I thought about my past relationships and the things I did wrong, and how can I embrace that pain so that it doesn't happen in my next relationship. How can I take those lessons I've learned so that I'm not hurting someone, saying the wrong thing, or giving the wrong idea or wrong impression? So that was one way of me embracing those shadow parts that I've been repressing so long, those ideas of guilt, fear, and stuff like that. It can get very intricate and complicated, but there's a lot to it. And every walk is different too. So it's always important to go with someone if you can, just to kind of decompress and discuss the experiences that come up. So.
Right. Yeah. I was just thinking, okay, so I'm wondering how I would be able to cope with one of those. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I've done paranormal stuff with you a few times.
Mm.
I think you would, with the guidance, the right guidance, I think you would do great. Because you're sensitive to things and things come up for you quite easily, and we've seen that happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if you know how to confront that and embrace the right parts, that might be very helpful. It's very therapeutic, but it can also be terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
I said I had that gentleman left as the center of the lab, so I can't do this anymore. I just can't deal with the thoughts and the ideas coming to my head.
Oh, wow.
It's not for everybody, and there needs to be, I mean, if you've got deep trauma, it's best that you have a therapist that you're seeing once a week or whatever too. We always make sure that when everybody leaves, they've discussed what happened and their experiences, and then we talk about any issues they have. We follow up as necessary. So I don't know. You never know until you try. And just because you walk the labyrinth doesn't you have to do the shadow work. It can be a very peaceful thing. And if you have a simple question that you need an answer to, you walk the labyrinth, and hopefully you'll find your answer along the way.
Yeah. Can you do this? Can you do this
I'd
shadow work? Go ahead. Finish your.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to ask, can you do this shadow work anywhere else? I mean, can you just?
Absolutely. Yeah, the shadow work doesn't have to be done in the. Yeah, it doesn't have to be. It can be done anywhere. It can be done in your house, anywhere you want. There's plenty of books out there on shadow work. I know that social media is really hot on the shadow work journals right now, which are very simplistic. But I like to use both methods, the labyrinth and the shadow work. They really complement each other well, and it adds more to the experience. And it really is a magic experience. I'd say probably about 95% of the people I've taken through a labyrinth have absolutely loved it. And I've always got people begging me for, let's go back to the labyrinth. Let's walk another labyrinth. And every walk is a different experience. So.
Well, we're just going to have to try this. We lost her for a minute.
That's fine.
She has a coughing spell.
She's doing her shadow work.
Yep. I'm trying to find out where we're at on her questions here.
No, that's fine. Another great place to do shadow work would also be during a paranormal investigation as well.
Oh,
because that's a good place when you're sitting in silence a lot to really reflect on the ideas that are coming into your head and how things are perceived in that environment, and what comes out. I know I've done that a lot down at Melbourne, sitting in the Shadow Man hallway.
Right.
Aptly named for shadow work, I guess. I don't know.
I've lost her questions here.
That's all right.
She's got something about the scrying with the mirrors and stuff too. What kind of experiments?
Absolutely, we can talk about.
What kind of experiments have you? Let's see, with your mirrors. Have you done with your mirrors?
Oh, yeah. Well, I'll give anyone who watches this some background on the Black Mirror project. That started about a year and a half ago, maybe. And I was fascinated with Dr. Raymond Moody, who's a psychiatrist. He did a lot of research into psychomantiums, which is an ancient method used by the Greeks of using reflective surfaces to communicate with the other side. And Dr. Moody used not black mirrors, but just mirrors, large mirrors and a red light in a chair. And the mirror was tilted in a certain way that after about 15 minutes of a client staring in the mirror, they would have an experience generally with that loved one who's passed on, and they could kind of have some closure and say their goodbye. So I, for a while, and the more I researched it, of course, these ideas came in, and I had to start writing them down. And the more that you put yourself into a project, the more it appears in different parts of your life. And one night I had a dream about black mirrors, and I actually stepped through the black mirror and I came in a different location. And it was a very vivid and intense dream. And when I woke up, I thought, there's something to this. So I went down to, I made us some black mirrors. I worked on scrying, and I went down and talked with Josh Hurd at Matter. Told him about the project and said, we're to put black mirrors in several locations just to see if they were energetically connected in some sort of way. And so we put a mirror in the Melbourne Manor, and the same night we put a black mirror in the attic at Villisca. And then eventually we got one down to the 1889 McIntyre Villa and did all sorts of experiments. And the mirrors were open to anybody to use, so any paranormal investigating group can come in and use the black mirrors in their own way. Some did some incredible experiments. Some forgot to tell me about them, but I heard little bits and pieces. The most intense one, I think, was it was about a week after we installed the mirrors, and there was a group that got a picture of a little girl in the doorway in the Shadow Man hallway, not far from the black mirror. And it was a very realistic picture. Did I show you guys that one last time I saw you?
I don't think
The
so.
photo?
I don't think so. No.
Okay. Remind me of sometime.
Okay.
It's a very clear picture. It's transparent, of course, but it was of a little girl passing. And the more Josh and I thought about it, it's like, this could be one of the little victims from the Villisca house. So, of course, we pulled up the pictures of the Villisca, and it looked just like it could have been. So then as that moving back and forth, I know the first night that we had the mirrors running, I was sitting in front of the mirror at Villisca. Josh was in the front of the mirror at Melbourne. And we were both texting each other back and forth, what's going on your end, what's going on here. And I was seeing doll faces or faces in the mirror, and he was seeing like these strange faces as well, to the point where he actually had to leave the manor. He couldn't stick around there. The weird haze that shows up when we use the crystal bowls in the mirror and the hallways, and lots of different experiences, if anything in particular. But I know there's been other groups that have done some pretty awesome ones too. Eventually, I wanted to compile all the different stories into a book, but that kind of fell apart. I wasn't getting the support I needed. It was more than a one-man job, and so I couldn't get it all done. So I kind of shifted gears. But I'd like to get back to it if the interest someday. And I know that you guys have got to Black Mirror a little bit.
Yeah. If you want to
Me and Cynthia were down there. I was filming her live, and the Shadow Man would have been on her right, and the door next on the left, it stays open about an inch, and she's doing the mirror and everything, and I'm filming her. Then all of a sudden that door slammed, and I'm going, well, I'm going, that ain't the Shadow Man. That's another room. Cynthia said I put a hole in the roof.
We were down there with it was Josh, myself, and a couple other people, and we had somebody at the end of the Shadow Man hallway scrying in the mirror, and we had another mirror set up at the other end. We had a lady there by the name of Tori who was sitting in front of that mirror, and at some point something pulled her chair back while she was staring in the mirror. With a loud thump, and she goes flying back. It was crazy.
Wow.
The mirrors we don't know, but could have been. I know that it scared the hell out of all of us because it was loud and mostly her. But
oh yeah, for sure. Anybody going flying
in
out.
And scrying is not for everybody either. It's kind of like the shadow work. You don't always know what experience you're going to get. Time it's a little more intense than you're expecting, and then that's a whole other there. So I don't recommend it for everybody, but.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kim's looking at me like, yeah.
I haven't done it yet. But.
No, Kim has not done it yet. She has not done it.
They're fun, and it's another good way to really get into that trance mode, especially if you use the flickering light that we use with the mirror. He just kind of draws you into the mirror. And then most people say that after 10, 15 minutes, they start seeing that haze, which Dr. Raymond Moody said a lot of his clients too, that it would sometimes be in the mirror, sometimes come out. I was at a historical museum in Minnesota a year and a half ago, and we were using the black mirror in this medical center. It was where they had all these antique weird machines. And I had some friends who were in a rock band, Cold Kingdom, shout out, out of Minneapolis, and they were with us and we left them alone in there to do some scrying on their own. Of course, we played some isochronic tones. We had the flickering light, the black mirror, all the lights were out. And I went and sat outside the door just to give them time to be over. And it was probably about 5 minutes. And I heard this running in there. And here's this guy, this fairly big guy, and he's curled up in a ball and fetal position. And he had this intense experience where he saw this face in the background of the mirror going slowly across the mirror, and it would come back and it was a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger, came closer, and then it came up at him and he just regressed and that just went fetal. And that was a pretty intense, but he enjoyed it. I mean, if you're looking for a paranormal experience, he definitely had it. Now again, that brings us back to, was it paranormal, or was that part of his psyche that was projecting that experience from past trauma, that shadow self? You never know, but it's fun to look at it both ways too. You hope that it's definitely paranormal, but we have to realize it's very powerful. That's how we perceive all the phenomenon that we experience, and how much of that is projected in psyche too. Like I said, if we all hear something drop, sure we all heard it, the noise, and we might have felt the vibration, but how does our brain interpret that experience? It's going to be slightly different. Somebody might say, yeah, I thought move across floor before it made that loud bang, and sometimes that's not what a lot of the paranormal people want to hear, that it could be them that's part of the phenomenon, but it's definitely something that should be that as well too, before just claiming that everything's a paranormal experience. There's certainly things that I've not been able to debunk or wasn't projected that were definitely, and I used to be I call myself an open-minded skeptic. I'm open to all possibilities until I experience it directly and analyze it. I'm not going to say it's anything for sure, but when you start doing enough investigations, shit starts happening.
Yeah, it does.
You start getting touched, and all that too, and that's certain things you can't explain. Right. I was with Cynthia. We were doing an investigation in Independence, Iowa, and we were in the root cellar. And I had been in there many times before doing investigations. Not a whole lot happened there, but I was just leaning against the wall and it was really quiet. And all of a sudden I thought the squirrel ran up my back. Oh, I mean, I screamed and I jumped, hit my head on the ceiling.
Oh gosh.
But it was nothing, but it felt like a squirrel ran up my back. And I don't know how to explain that.
Right.
No, I wasn't close enough for the wall, or there's nothing hanging down. It was just me, and I think I scared the hell out of her.
Oh, probably. Gosh, wouldn't it have been terrifying if it actually was a damn squirrel going over there? That'd have been like a Chevy Chase moment right there.
That probably would have been more traumatic.
Yeah, it would have been.
Actually, have been a squirrel.
Do you have a favorite mariner? Or oh my gosh, I can't even talk because I'm gonna have a coffee fit. Like experience that you can't explain. Yeah.
Well, the first time I was speaking of Cold Kingdom, I was investigating with them again, and with Rob Gray, the Squirrel Cage Jail. I think this was in 2019. And it was their first investigation, and we were in the third floor apartment. And there's this weird anomaly above the bed. If you take a KTMF meter above the bed, it goes crazy. But if you put it near the ceiling, it stops. If you put it under the bed, nothing. It's like this floating 2-3 feet above the bed energy. And we could never figure that out. We wanted to do a documentary at some point, but
Mhm.
we were in that room, and I was leaning against the door, and it was dark, and all of a sudden I felt something grab my arm.
Mhm.
I'm like, Rob, did you just grab me? He's like, no, man, I'm over here, 5 feet away. And I said, Kat, mark the time. And Kat's got cameras all over the squirrel cage jail.
Mhm.
And she went back and played it. And at the exact time that I jumped, there was a flash. She's just like, I've never seen that flash before.
Mhm.
That's really crazy. And 2 minutes later, the other girl we were with got touched on the shoulder, and she was just a few feet from me.
Mhm.
Now, was it paranormal? I don't know. It seemed strange because there was that flash on the screen at the same on the camera at the same time that I had experience.
Mhm.
But the following week, I was also diagnosed with a brain tumor the size of a lime.
Oh no.
That was pushing on my. So then I'm like, the tumor that caused the phenomenon, or was it paranormal? So my goal is just to continue to go back to that, replicate it, or to explore more. But that was probably the one. Welcome. Then Edinburgh Manor's always got the weird footsteps chasing us. We'll go for, Rob and I used to go for 3 nights each year. And some nights we get absolutely nothing. And then there's always one night that's extreme. And I remember there was a very distinct footsteps coming down the first floor hallway, getting closer and closer and louder and louder. And we thought somebody was going to peek around the corner. And we were the only 2 in the building. And that just came out too. It was very realistic. And there's been all sorts of phenomenon at Edinburgh Manor I can't quite explain. But there's been some crazy, just about everywhere I go, if I go there enough times, eventually I'm going to have some sort of strange experience. The 1889 McIntyre Villa is a great place for experiences too. That place never disappoints.
We've been there
I've
once.
seen, yep. We all need to get together and go down there again. That's one of
Yes.
my favorites.
I loved that place.
Especially the basement and the attic.
Oh, definitely the basement. Because she had a doll sitting in the wheelchair, and it's one of those you pull the string and it's supposed to talk. Well, me and Allison were down there. Everybody else went to bed, and I could have swore that doll talked to us, and I picked it up, and there's no string. It's broke.
Oh, weird.
And we got it on the recorder, but yeah, it was talking to us. I'm going, that's that doll talking to us.
Well, and then Steph down there has got that video of that skeleton in the attic that turns its head. I don't know if you've seen that one yet.
I think I have.
You know, she's got all those Halloween skeletons all over the place.
Oh yeah,
and
all of her skeletons and her cat balls.
Yep. Things excited. Chris Nielsen's spirit board, his talking board with the cat balls.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's so cool.
That was a good idea. I like the way he did that.
Yeah, I want one of those.
Should have him make you one.
Well, he's offered. We'll see.
Nice.
Cheap, but
yeah. Do you have now? Do you have anything else in the works, like any other books or any other ideas that you might come up with and try?
Yeah. Well, with the shadow walking, I'm going to start doing workshops in the spring as well. I've got a couple of lined up that are going to let me use their labyrinth. I had mentioned earlier when I was talking about the scrying and the black mirrors that when you really invest yourself in a project, it starts manifesting in other areas of your life, like the dreams. Well, the same thing happened in my shadow walking, in my labyrinth walkings. I started walking labyrinths in my dream. So I had to add a last chapter of the book called Navigating the Labyrinth of Dreams. And I think that if I continue to practice that, I might do a second book based on dream walking. And then eventually I'll get the Black Mirror book as well. It's pretty much done. I just have to collect everybody's experiences and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That's been the hard. Yeah.
Well, you saw Alice's in person, so.
This is true. That was an intense one, that's for sure.
I don't even remember half of it. I just remember them telling me a baby was crying. That's all I remember.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was definitely intense.
I missed out. I was upstairs.
Yeah.
Oh, you were lucky.
Yeah.
There's quite a group of us.
I took the boys upstairs.
Yeah. Now, where can people find your book if they want to purchase it?
When it becomes available, because the publisher won't give me a specific date. It was originally supposed to be out by October, but it got moved from one of the publishing companies in Boulder to the mother company, and now who knows which direction it's going. But it'll be available on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, pretty much anywhere you can get a book. It'll be available. Hopefully, brick and mortar stores go get it at Barnes and Noble.
Cool.
Yeah, that'll be
but
awesome.
I'm looking forward to the teaching the workshops, because the people that I have worked with on this so far, absolutely incredible. As far as response I've gotten from them, like I said, I've got people all the time. Hey, will you go walk the labyrinth with me again, or can you take me to a different labyrinth? By the energy there, and there's some amazing, and they're just a lot more so just peaceful. You've got anything from a cement one in the middle of downtown Omaha to outside of town that's made of wood and brick, and some of them are just amazing. That's why I read that Facebook group, because there's so many beautiful, incredible labyrinths on there from all.
We're gonna have to check it out.
Yeah, we'll have to check it out. We'll have to go for a drive sometime.
That's not even an option. Yeah, well, you come down here and we'll walk the labyrinth together.
Oh, that'd be fun. We should do that, definitely.
Yeah,
I was gonna ask you if you were gonna be. That was one of my things on there. If you were gonna like do any like workshops or anything, or things like that to help people learn.
I'll be doing. Workshops in the Omaha and Sioux Falls, South Dakota area to begin with. And we'll see how that goes. Right now, I'm kind of doing the workshops. We just kind of trying to get it organized and seeing what works best for people. And pretty much anybody who has an interest and wants to try it, I'll take a labyrinth with them. It's exciting for me to see. It's intense generally. It's just like all you're doing is walking a maze. It's like, no, there's more to it. I mean, you really. It's just relax and just to move. I mean, it's kind of like Tai Chi, because you've got to navigate these twists and turns. This is one of the labyrinths I've got, but you can see how all the twists and turns in there.
Oh, yeah.
This is one of the more interesting in France. I think it's here.
Oh, wow.
But the have their own version that's slightly different. It's just one path, but lots of twists and turns. And you really would get good at balance, because you do a lot of twists and turns. So, yeah. But if anybody happens to watch this, wants to reach out to me on Facebook or wherever you can find me, and is in the area, or I'm going to be in their area, just say, hey, let's walk a labyrinth. And I'm like, yeah, I'm down.
I was going to ask.
I'm that easy.
You're that easy. Don't be putting that on Craigslist or something. You never know what you're gonna get. Be careful there, because you never know what you're gonna get with that one. Well, I'm easy. You never know. Oh, my mind is just.
You ladies.
What was that?
It's never a dull moment with you ladies.
I know. We try to make it not so dull. Tonight I was on my good behavior, because I have a cold and my brain is just not functioning properly. But
I'm always an angel.
Yeah, and I believe that.
Now, are you gonna have like a special? Are you just gonna take messages on like your social media? Are you going to set up like a special um,
Yep.
page or anything for shadow walking or labyrinths or anything like that that people can access or whatever, share their experiences or?
All of the above.
Mm-hmm.
I've already talked to the people in the Global Labyrinth. I think it's the Labyrinth Society Global Group, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Worth checking out. If you're interested, you can find me on social media. I can give you the link too.
Sure, yeah.
But I've talked to them. They were all in sharing experiences. So what I'm going to start doing is I'm going to start an actual page for shadow walking, but I'm also going to have the group too. Whereas the group that I participate in now is mostly about sharing the different labyrinths. There's not so much about their experiences.
Mm-hmm.
This group will be about sharing your trauma and the positive things and the negative things that you're dealing with. So that'll be an option. Eventually, I'll have a website too, but it'll probably be the end of January that I have the group and the Facebook page going. So
Okay.
Cool.
Perfect. So that way we can keep an eye out on that and share it amongst the universe for people to find you and get in touch with you if they're interested in learning some more about shadow walking and labyrinths and anything in between. Before you've already kind of given your social media, so I just like to thank everybody that was in chat. Thank you for everybody who's not in chat but listening. We appreciate each and every one of you. I'd like to thank Thomas from being on the show. Finally, after trying so many times. It's the winter, everybody gets sick, so it happens.
yeah.
Excuse me. Next week, we're gonna have David Gagan on. He is the author of Our Eternal Existence, and we're gonna discuss his book and also about the metaphysical aspects of it. So join us for that.
Very cool.
Yeah, and so thank you once again for being on, Thomas. We appreciate it, and thank you everybody for listening.